So good evening, everybody, or afternoon. Thank you for being here. Several people that work with me here at MBA. My name is Brad Gioia, for those of you who are new to the school and here for the first time. I teach English, and I'm the headmaster. And I talked with Greg Farrell almost 15 to 20 years ago, probably about 20, about this event. And I thought it would be a magical afternoon because saying thanks is a really important thing, and expressing gratitude and honoring people that made a difference in your life or helped you or befriended you, those are really critical topics for all of us. A friend, a teacher, the ability to say thank you is something that we probably just don't do enough, and sometimes we cannot do because it's too late. And you have the chance today to reunite with individuals who've made a difference, and I hope it's just a pleasant and really nice afternoon. Really, this is the agenda. We have a very short program that is all about saying thanks to teachers. And our first speaker is Dr. Tim Boyd behind me. We work closely together. He teaches European history, and like a lot of the teachers honored today, he would be a favorite teacher if we had one of these programs for our own students. So join me in having Dr. Boyd come to the podium.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here. As Mr. Gioia mentioned, my name is Tim Boyd. I'm the Associate Head of School and Academic Dean here at MBA, and I teach European history to the high school students. I was actually trained in American history before I started working here, but I was assigned to teach European history. I think it just sounds more convincing when I'm talking about that. You are going to hear in a moment from some great students who are in the early stages of their MBA careers, and they will tell you why they are grateful to the teachers that they have had over the years. But what I want to do is say a word of thanks on behalf of the MBA faculty for all that you have done. Because the influence of a teacher can manifest itself in a vast number of different ways. And sometimes it's a relatively small incident in itself, but it just sticks with you. For example, I only ever took 1 year of classics at school, so the boys that you've sent us are going to have at least twice as much fun with that than I had. But even though my recollection of any Latin and Greek has long since gone the way of the Roman Empire, I can still remember almost the entire narrative of the Trojan War, thanks to the way our teacher made us act it out alongside her retelling of it. I can also remember being aware, even as a relatively non-communicative teenager, that this was obviously a subject that she loved in big ways and small. And a particular giveaway of her passion for teaching this topic to us was her unfiltered nerdiness on the occasion of explaining to a room of sophomores that the name, the Iliad, comes from combining Ilion, the Greek name for the city of Troy, with Historia, the Greek name for story. Unable to contain her glee, she announced this meant that the Iliad should really be called Troy Story. Now, I'm not sure if any of us managed anything more than just a sort of thin, watery smile in response, but even though it's nearly 25 years ago, I remember how much of a difference it made to see the enthusiasm and know how much she cared about what she was teaching us. Of course, many of you will also appreciate the influence teachers have on students doesn't always go according to plan. For instance, it doesn't normally take the boys long to pick up on the fact that I'm not from around these parts, and this will occasionally lead them to ask questions about life in England, which in turn gives me a chance to introduce them to such cultural delights as Monty Python, cricket, and how to correctly pronounce Worcestershire sauce. But evidently, sometimes the impact I have is less straightforward. For example, a few years ago, I was interviewing an applicant for the 7th grade, and at the end of it, I asked if he had any questions for me. Yes, he said. Do you talk like that because you're from somewhere else, or are you just pretending? I actually had a follow-up conversation with him that August after we accepted him, and it was his registration, so he was there to sign the registration book. And I asked him whether he still thought I was faking it, and he sort of smiled and replied, "Oh, no, ma'am." So that still leaves me with some questions about his powers of observation. That wasn't quite the influence that I was hoping to have, but it's still influence of a sort. Thankfully, though, this latter instance is not the type of influence we are here to celebrate this afternoon. And though creating lifelong interests and vivid memories of being in your classroom are certainly influences to be proud of, It is really up to the students to thank you for those. What I would like to thank you for on behalf of the faculty is that we are about to reap the benefits of your positive influence on these boys. It's an old saying that a bad workman blames his tools, but one might equally ask, how often does any kind of workman thank the person who lays the foundations? The boys you send us are already in great shape, and our job becomes that much easier and tremendously more enjoyable as a result. We get to guide them through the final 4 to 6 years of their schooling, and it's important that we do that well. But every time we get to see an exceptional student walk across the stage at high school graduation, we need to remember that much of this is due to the foundations he was given by all of you. This is true in all 3 of the characteristics we want the boys to excel in: gentleman, scholar, and athlete. And it's true across all walks of life. In terms of being a gentleman, we have many programs dedicated to character, service, and honor, and we hope those have an impact. But the surest way that they will is if the boys have already been exposed to positive role models in all 3 of those areas before they even walk through the door. In scholarship, they will go through a rigorous and challenging academic program here, and they may encounter new interests during that time. But the intellectual spark, work ethic, and good habits they will need to make the most of those opportunities will already be in place thanks to what you have done for them. And even in terms of athletics, those early foundations are still key. Yes, Nick Saban and Kirby Smart deserve the plaudits as they create one national championship team after another. But so too do all the Pee-wee and middle school coaches who first identified a young player's potential and worked with them to develop him into someone good enough to be recruited by Georgia or Alabama. In other words, this is not just an occasion for the boys to say thank you, but also for their future teachers to say thank you as well. So, having said thank you on behalf of the faculty, I'm now going to turn it over to 2 of our students who are going to offer their own thoughts. And to say again, finally, thank you for all you've done for these boys. Thank you for coming to MBA today, and I hope you enjoy your evening.
So 2 of our students, one in the 7th and one in the 8th, Jamie and Mikhail, will come up now. So Jamie, if you'd please come up, and then follow Mikhail.
Miss Judici was an inspiring teacher. She taught me science last year, and I enjoyed the subject more than I ever had before. Miss Judici's standards were high, which helped me push myself to achieve more. She taught me to try hard and stay determined to never give up. Her motto was, "You play like you practice," and that made me want to take my work more seriously. She had high standards for us and helped us ask more questions and be curious in our class. She enjoyed giving us projects and experiments so we could see that what we were learning was practical for the real world. For instance, we learned how to design rockets, and then we built and improved a rocket over time. I've thought about what I've learned in science when I've read about the climate or energy use in my house, or even when I was discovering new geology at camp last summer. Her teaching has stayed with me, and I would like to thank Miss Judici for showing me how great science can be.
I'm Akala Drees, and I'm a new 8th grade student. The teacher I would like to honor is USN 4th grade teacher, Mr. Christopher Washko. In USN Lower School, everybody wants to be in Washko's world. Washko's world was a magical place filled with laughter, beanbags, and loads of happiness. Within the joy and happiness, I also learned several important life lessons that go beyond the classroom. An example of this was how Mr. Washko would emphasize the importance of a strong handshake. He would tell us to look a person in the eye and give them a firm handshake and not a dead fish. This taught me the value of a good first impression. Something else Mr. Washko would always say is an Idris man never does the bare minimum. That stuck and reflected on me during the MBA application process. I would have to study for the IC whenever I had time while also having to balance that with sports, extracurriculars, and maintaining straight A's. Above all, the main reason I chose Mr. Washko as my teacher to honor was because of what he said to me when he saw me for the first time in an NBA t-shirt. As I walked by his classroom, he saw my shirt and said, "Nice shirt, I am proud of you." This felt good coming from someone who had been teaching at USN for over 15 years and whom I hold in high regard. I am very excited about my journey at MBA, but it's excellent teachers like Mr. Washko who made this dream of coming to MBA a reality, and I am forever grateful.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Mikhail and Jamie. We always try to have music at programs, so we'll end with some music, and then I'll give you some directions. So Carter and David are going to sing a James Taylor song, Sweet Baby James. Join me in thanking them for being here this afternoon.
There is a young cowboy, he lives on the range. His horse and his cattle are his only companions. He works in the saddle and he sleeps in the canyon, just waiting for summer, his pastures to change. And as the moon arises, he sits by his fire, thinking about women and glasses of beer, closing his eyes as the doggies retire. He sings out a song which is soft but it's clear, as if maybe someone could hear. So good night, you moonlight ladies, and rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Oh, won't you let me go down in my dreams and rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. And now the 1st of December was covered with snow, and so was the turnpike from Stockbridge to Boston. Now the Berkshires seem dreamlike on account of that frosting, with 10 miles behind me and 10,000 more to go. There's a song that they sing when they take to the highway, a song that they sing when they take to the sea, a song that they sing of their home in the sky. Maybe you can believe it if it helps you to sleep, but singing works just fine for me. So good night, you moonlight ladies, and rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Oh, won't you let me go down in my dreams and rock-a-bye, sweet baby James.
Thank you, Carter, and thank you, David. We, as a school, wanted to say thank you this afternoon, and so we've done that in 2 ways. We have a reception in the dining hall for everyone, and there are 2 ways, I guess, to get there, at least from here. You could go out these doors and then walk behind the stadium, and then to the left is the dining hall. And the second thing we've done is put a book in the library in your honor, all the teachers. And we'd like you to do both this afternoon. That is to say, please go by the reception and please go to the library and see the book. And you can do it in whatever order you want to do it. If you feel like you'd rather walk right to the library, please do that, and then come back to the reception or vice versa. Again, thank you for being here this afternoon. I look forward to seeing many of you on the campus. You can go out that way, second way, to go to the library.